5, the space weather in fact as well. And I've got a report here for you guys about our magnetic mayhem and the recent animal deaths and birds and fish in the area that have been diving. Now, I have a map here of all the recent deaths, a Google map that shows you all the locations worldwide of all the animal deaths, and as you can see, there's quite a bit. Now, I have a theory about this, that I believe that the magnetic field is very unstable, which is causing all these recent deaths with fish and birds and other marine life. Now, let me explain some things first. Our heliophysics is a relatively new science, and it's formed in part created by NASA. The heliosphere protects our solar system from galactic cosmic radiation, and our planet is shielded by its magnetic field, keeping us protected from solar and particle radiation and from erosion of the atmosphere by the solar wind. Now, on Earth, the magnetic field can change strength and configuration during its occasional polarity reversals, altering our protection of the planet from outside radiation sources. The bulk of that shield comes from the Earth's magnetosphere. A magnetosphere is the area of space and shape around a planet that is controlled by the magnetic field. The Earth's magnetosphere shape is a direct result of being blasted by solar wind. It keeps out most of the solar wind, carrying particles from the sun from directly hitting the Earth. And our sun and the other planets all have magnetosphere, but Earth's is stronger than any of the other rock or planets. Now, the Earth's magnetosphere is a very dynamic structure that deeply responds to solar variations. In fact, life on Earth is developed and sustained under the shield of the veritable magnetosphere. In turn, the sun's extended atmosphere drives some of the largest changes in the near-Earth space environment, which affects our magnetosphere, atmosphere, ionosphere, and potentially our climate. Now, if the sun's activity creates severe disturbances of the upper atmosphere and of the near-Earth environment, then we can expect some noticeable disturbances here on Earth. Geomagnetic storms driven by the sun's activity can interfere with high-frequency radio communications and GPS navigation. Now that we understand how the magnetosphere works, let's talk about what's going on with it lately. On June 3rd of 2007, 5 NASA probes discovered a breach in the magnetosphere 4 times the size of the Earth. So as of this moment, solar wind can flow through the opening and load up the magnetosphere for very powerful geomagnetic storms. And also, you know, scientists are just learning to understand the mechanics of the magnetosphere in light of this breach. And normally, solar wind presses against the magnetosphere almost directly above the equator, where our field points north. If a bunch of solar magnetism comes along and points north too, we would expect the two fields to reinforce each other.
From Walmart to websites, the Department of Homeland Security teams up with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement this time, as it continues to take on the really big tasks in protecting the homeland under the stellar leadership of Homeland Secretary Janet Napolitano. The Obama administration and Secretary Napolitano seized tens of thousands of websites, accusing them of child pornography, copyright infringement, and selling of counterfeit goods. This massive and expensive sting helped protect our nation by resulting in one arrest for the alleged rebroadcasting of sporting events. In my opinion, the DHS has proven its worth and shown just how much the security of our nation depends on an organization such as this. Potential Walmart shoplifters and independent rogues on the internet cutting into the trillions made on sporting events worldwide. Common Sense News asks you, what could be more dangerous?
36 people were on what many say was a life-changing trip, but none of them ever left a university laboratory. They volunteered to take the psychedelic ingredient that puts the so-called magic in certain kinds of mushrooms. And now there's a surprising follow-up. CNN's Carol Costello joins us live with the results. Carol, what's happening now?
Well, John, maybe the hippies of the 60s weren't just on something. Maybe they were onto something. Scientists at Johns Hopkins now say magic mushrooms really can expand your mind, producing a kind of religious experience. 14 months ago, they gave dozens of volunteers magic mushrooms, and today, those volunteers are still feeling the effects. The whole Johns Hopkins study seems just so hippy-dippy 60s. It brings to mind Timothy Leary, the man who first widely touted the alleged magic in this tiny mushroom.
5 years ago, by accident in Mexico, I took Mexican mushrooms.
Leary, a Harvard researcher, claimed his mushroom-induced psychotic trip was so spiritual it led him and a generation to
turn on, tune in, and drop out.
Yeah, until the federal government stepped in and made hallucinogenic drugs illegal. Fast forward to 2006 and this research room at Johns Hopkins. 36 volunteers took part in an initial study on whether psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, really does have a lasting spiritual effect on people. Dee Dee Osborne, a business consultant, volunteered to find out.
It's a beautiful feeling. I've not felt anything like that before.
Osborne, lying on this couch, received one dose over an 8-hour period. She saw a kaleidoscope of colors. Then
there was a tearing open of my heart, and then the feeling that we were all one.
The effects of that single session are still with her 14 months later, and with other volunteers. The study says at 2 months, the volunteers rated the experience as having spiritual significance and sustained positive changes in behavior.
Most people had experiences that really looked quite indistinguishable from classically occurring mystical type experiences.
The study is nothing like those done in the 60s. They're far more controlled. The goal is to explore whether this drug could prove therapeutic to those terminally ill.
Volunteers who are under psychological distress secondary to a cancer diagnosis. And the thought here is that an experience of this type, primary mystical experience, might well alter the course and the perception that the individual has of their disease process and quality of life.
As for those volunteers who took that long, strange trip on Johns Hopkins' couch, the study says most have no regrets and feel their world is a better place because of it. Now, please keep in mind magic mushrooms are illegal in the United States, and they can be dangerous if taken without strict supervision. All of the volunteers in the Hopkins study were psychologically prepped for 6 to 9 months. Johns Hopkins scientists say the magic mushrooms can also produce fear and intense anxiety in some people. John?
Fascinating study, Carol. I'm sure a lot of people are saying, where do we sign up? The gun lobby warns Barack Obama.
If this were a dictatorship, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Just so long as I'm the dictator.
We as mothers here today represent countless California moms who feel the same way, and we're ready to stand up and be counted on Proposition 19 on November 2nd. Please vote yes, yes on 19 for the kids.
I'm an attorney and a mother of 2. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I am supporting Proposition 19.
And when I think about what kind of world I'd like my children to grow up in, that they grow up in a world with marijuana being legal and controlled and not this out-of-control system that we have today. So it may be counterintuitive, but legalizing marijuana would be safer for our children.
The local communities largely appreciate the opportunity to decide whether or not to control, regulate, and tax either cannabis for only medical use, cannabis perhaps for adult use, or for our rural communities, our agricultural communities, hemp for industrial use and enjoy the taxes and agriculture jobs created by that.
If you don't want it anywhere near your kids, then move to another universe, because it's near our kids now. We've tried the drug war for four decades now, and we've tried banning marijuana for 75 years, and it does not work to reduce the amount of use. It makes our communities more unsafe because it diverts resources that could be used for actual harms to public safety, paying for our crumbling educational and other institutions.
And it's time to have that honest conversation. This is an adult issue, just like alcohol. There's a time and a place for everything. It's called college.
Common Sense News would like to express its condolences, prayers, and well wishes for the residents of the islands of Japan, who not only suffered devastating tsunami and 2 nuclear meltdowns, but are also now contending with a volcano that seems to be an obvious direct result of the continuous quake activity that began with an 8.9 quake that was later upgraded to a 9.1. Hopes at CSN are hinged on the idea that our awareness of the present increase in record-setting solar activity, as well as the unprecedented proximity of Earth's moon in modern times, and the predictions of increased quake activity that go along with them, will direct our attention to the common sense of focusing our attention on protecting ourselves from the unstoppable destruction of nature rather than protecting ourselves from each other. And that we will take this time to observe the fact that soldiers from around the world are heroically demonstrating that they save lives even better than they take them, and to thank them for it. That's going to complete this 5th edition of Common Sense News. I'm Davis. Thank you for joining us. On to the lighter note. Have a great week.
There is a point. Is there a point to all this? Let's find a point. Is there a point to my act? I would say there is. I have to. The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are. And the ride goes up and down and round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored, and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time, and they begin to question, is this real, or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered, and they come back to us, and they say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid, ever, because this is just a ride, and we kill those people. Shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up. Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account and my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok? But it doesn't matter, because it's just a ride. And we can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door, buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one. Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spend it feeding, clothing, and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace. Thank you very much. You've been great. I hope you enjoyed it. London, you're fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's no give and take, I'm just feeling the breeze and she's letting me swing, baby, be getting down on me.
I know how to sing that.
Yeah, rock it.